Tonight I'm very, very excited and very happy because I am with a person that is very, someone special to me, someone from whom I have learned a lot and I continue to learn all the time. And one of my favorite things about Sharon, who I'm going to introduce here in a moment, is that, some people like to talk about ideas, right? And ideas are exciting when you talk about them, the words, and people say some nice things, and the nice blah, blah, blah can be interesting. But what is more interesting than that, and what is more exciting, is people like Sharon that not only stop at speaking about the ideas, but actually goes ahead and work on the ideas and create tools and things. And it's more about the action. So less of a blah, 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 and more of the action. And those are the people that I really get excited about. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Sharon here. And I have to wear my glasses here. And so Sharon Smith Akinsanya is the CEO of the Ryan McKenzie Group, an award-winning Minnesota-based diversity, equity, and inclusion marketing firm. She consults with Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, and top employers to help them attract, recruit, and retain top talent of color. She is the founder of People of Color Career Social Hiring Network for Professionals of Color and the creator of the People of Color Career Fair. She is the author of Colorful: Competitive Strategies to Attract and Retain Top Talent of Color, her new book, which just came out in bookstore and on Amazon last week. So it's available, you can buy it. And like I said, less of a blah, blah, and more of the action. So thank you, Sharon, for making time to be with us tonight. How are you doing?
Please, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited about being here with you tonight to talk about making sure that we have all the information that we need to get the paycheck we want and level up our careers and our lives in 2021. This is our time. This is our year. So thank you for having me, Luis.
This is our time. This is a year. I love that introduction, right? What a way to start. And I think so, Sharon, we've seen it that we have some opportunities in the workplace in terms of our presence and our participation there as people of color. We have multiple of the folks that I'm seeing here on our call with us tonight are people of color, talented professionals that are have so much education, so much experience, have worked in fantastic companies, great backgrounds, and they really can provide so much to employers. But sometimes we're seeing that we're kind of lagging behind there in terms of our participation in these companies. So we'd love to hear tonight some of your experience and observations on what the opportunities are out there for our community out here to have more opportunities in organizations.
Absolutely. Luis, thank you for the question. Listen, everybody knows that we have a problem, with a crazy unemployment and underemployment gap as it pertains to professionals of color. We're just underrepresented in corporate America as compared to our white counterparts, and it's just not okay. And corporations understand that it's not okay as well. It's just that they have been doing the same thing for so long, hiring the same people that in their own circles for so long, that it's hard to break out of that. They understand that they're going to have to do a better job at attracting professionals like us in order to maintain their competitive edge. And the reason why I'm excited about this call tonight is because there's been a shift. I know that we've been talking about this a long time, for 30 years, talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and hardly no movement, right? But there's been a shift, with the pandemic and then with the murder of George Floyd. There was not a baseball game, a basketball game, a football game, or anything to distract us from what happened in our own backyard here in Minnesota. And I believe that it gave CEOs, policymakers, all of us a chance to really reflect on the atrocities and the disparities that exist among Black professionals or Black people and people of color in this nation. And there was no excuse. We all stared at that television for 8 minutes and 46 seconds with no distractions. And so it was a shift, right? And everybody was calling me, CEOs and policymakers, Luis, Sharon, what should we do? What can we do? We just don't want to live like this. And I said, listen, we obviously are going to all have to work together to fight social injustice. But here's what we can do together. We are based here in Minnesota, where there's nearly 19 Fortune 500 companies that are still hiring, thousands of career openings every single day. So the thing that we can do is close the income inequity gap, close the unfairness gap, and make sure that we're being very intentional about bringing in top talent of color. Intentional, not just by happenstance, but being really intentional. So I have asked those employers to raise their hand to say, listen, we're going to do better. We're going to commit to making sure that we have a platform, a way to actually find and hire top talent of color and talk to them directly, where their resumes don't go into a black hole, where they can connect directly with recruiters who can advocate and help them move the process forward in landing their dream careers. And so that's what the shift has been: more awareness, more intentionality around figuring out how can we do better. And so I asked those employers to come on board with me and help me get my platform called People of Color Careers over the finish line, so that we can get more people hired. You guys, it is time for us to level up. It's time for us to get paid. It's time for us to understand how much money we need to make. It's time for us to choose wisely, Louise. It's time for us to choose wisely.
I love it. I love it. And you said a lot of things there that are key. I love the word intentionality, right? So we're going to talk more about that tonight. I think that's going to be a theme. And I want to read to you here, Sharon, that Miguel Rocha is, congratulating you on your book, asking for the link. So we have shared the link to Sharon's book. So go ahead and check it out. So thank you, Miguel, right there, so that you can find it.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you.
Hey, speaking about finding, we're talking about finding the book, but when it comes to the relatively low participation that we have in organizations, Sharon, some people have said that it's just difficult to find us. Like, we people of color, like they have the intention to hire us, but they can't find us.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that happening? Why they can't find us?
So here's what's happening. Okay, so think about your own life and your own circle and the people that you know. So what happens is that most white people, quite frankly, can go their entire lives and never have friends that don't look like them. Mm-hmm. We all know from statistics that when we think about hiring, particularly in the upper levels, it's based on referrals, who who's in your circle. And so what's happening is it's just a never-ending cycle of hiring people who are in those circles. Mm-hmm. And so now we're running out of that. We have to figure out a way to be more reflective, and organizations know this, to be more reflective of the consumers they serve. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that the Latino community, the buying power is $1.7 trillion, there or thereabout, give or take a trillion, give or take, right? And that the Black buying power is 1.5 trillion. Everybody knows that. And so corporations, have to understand that they have to be more reflective of the consumers they serve, more reflective of the populations they serve. The workforce is shifting, the demographics are shifting. So corporations are like, we got to figure this out. We're late to the game and we got to figure this out. So the reason why it's late is because we tend to hire who we know. And so what I do in my book is I challenge those CEOs, I challenge those CHROs to do a better job at expanding their narrow networks, to do a better job at building relationships with people like you and me and Miguel and the others on this call tonight. Yeah. I asked them, Louise, I said, so who do you call when you want to celebrate? Yeah. Who do you call when you got something sad, to share? And who are you golfing with?
Yeah. But you are in my circle, Sharon. You're in my circle. Yeah,
that's right. And you're in my circle. So people of color don't tend to have that problem, right? We tend to have a little bit more diverse because we're a minority, right? We can't live without having a diverse circle.
I love that.
If you're white, you could go your whole life and really not have anybody in your circle that don't look like you. I mean, if that's what you choose, you absolutely can do that. Yeah, so what we're doing,
color to your circle, right?
Exactly. So here's what we have to do. So with that, So my job is to help them expand those networks. And that's what the platform does. So the People of Color Careers Social Hiring Network for Professionals of Color invites those employers and their recruiters and hiring managers onto the platform to connect with professionals that look like you and me, who have the talent that they're looking for to fill those open positions. So that's what it's about. So not only can they find us for work, but we can also share networks. So we need access to them, right, for their advocacy and to let us know how we move to the next level in landing our dream career. And they also need access to us. So these recruiters on our platform know that this is a level playing field. They're looking to build a relationship. It's not like they're here and we're here. It's this way. It's we're even, that we both need each other in order to survive, because it's the recruiter's job to make sure that they can identify a diverse candidate pool for those hiring managers to be able to fill those openings.
Love that. One thing, so Sharon, and I think I love that you're talking about the platform. I wonder if later on the call there will be a way that you can show
We'll be able to show that.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So one question is, so we call this, in the title of this session tonight, we call it, getting your paycheck,
That's right.
the paycheck you won on 2021. And so tell me more about that in terms, a lot of times we talk about like getting a job, like finding that opportunity, but I think you're going beyond this and you're talking more about making sure that you can get that paycheck. So maybe share with me more about that, Sharon.
A lot of times, we need to really have a plan on exactly what it is that we want to earn, what we should earn, what we should be earning. We need to make sure that we know our value, and we need to have a plan to make sure we're getting that value and understand what questions that we need to be asking in the interview process to make sure that we're getting the paycheck that we deserve. So one example that I can give you, for example, is my daughter. She was looking for a job in Boston in the middle of a pandemic. She had graduated. She had done the research on her marketing position. She wanted to be a marketing manager, with who had a master's degree, with some experience, skills in certain areas. And she had done her research on salary.com and asked around what should she be making. And she also did some research on what her peers were making in other organizations. So she knew that that job paid around $89,000 to $92,000 a year with her level of experience and education. And so she knew that going in. They offered her $75,000. She accepted $75,000, but only with stock options. So she not only got the $75,000, but she negotiated stock options, deferred, right, as an agreement to stay at the company for a period of time, and then she can take advantage of that. So what I mean by that is really thinking about what your value is, what you deserve, doing your research, asking your peers, just asking. And we're not raised to do that normally as professionals of color, asking people how much money they make. It's like, ooh, so we have to get used to sort of doing that research and figuring out our circle, yeah, and how we can identify and find out what that salary really pays. And what I mean by that is when we're going to look for these careers, we can't just take anything. But if we do decide to take less than, know that you don't have to stay there. Right. Know that it's a stepping stone to that next level. Yeah. Because you need to know your value, and it's about the posture. Know that they need me, they need you. They're looking for the talent. It may be a bad time in terms of salary negotiations, but know that you don't have to stay stuck. Maybe you just stay in that position for a year to get additional experience, but don't make it a lifetime decision just to be there. No, you got to move on. Yeah. Don't feel bad about it. It's a decision that you make, but you know your value. You do your research.
No, thank you, Sharon. Thank you for doing that, because I think that, right now with the pandemic, obviously that the market is not as hot right now as folks. Some of my friends that are looking for jobs, like they, are just so concentrated on finding something that then it's like finding anything, right? And that can definitely hurt us. So I like your advice in that, making sure that we have an idea of what our value is, and we can do that. It's easier every day to do that as more and more platform and more information is made available. And I love your concept about making sure that we're talking to our peers and trying to understand what we should be making at any point. So, and I know that, so we people of color are making less, especially women,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Women of color making much less, and part of it is many factors, right? But I think one of the major factors, the one that you mentioned, is we not knowing the value and almost being like appreciative of anything that we can get, when in fact we should. And especially we're going to school, spending, university tuition is not very cheap. So if we're going and getting our degrees and spending all that money, coming in and then just taking anything that we can get, is not very beneficial. So I really kudos to you, and I thank you for bringing this concept out, so that we are more aware of that and more intelligent, really, as we go through these conversations. And on that, I want to ask you, Sharon, in terms of like what changes are you seeing out there in terms of the landscape of a workplace? How is it changing for professionals of colors? And I know you've already mentioned a few of those, but tell us more about those changes that you're seeing out there in terms of opportunities for us, people of color, in the workplace.
So the first thing that I'm seeing is that people are actually saying the phrase systemic racism.
Mhm.
Systemic racism. So that's why we're locked out. Okay. It's systemic racism over the years. Okay. There are a set of people in this country that believe that all men are not created equal. And that's how this happened. But now the shift is changing. So I don't want you to get that twisted. That's still there. But because that we are about to become a majority minority nation, powerful political voting blocks, the shift is changing to where we are becoming a necessity in order to move the needle forward in business and in society. So as a result of that, more people or eyes are opening. CEOs and CHROs are saying, hold up. We've got to put some real numbers to this and make sure that we're being more reflective, because guess what? People are asking questions. So folks are organizing and saying, hey, Mr. Employer, how many Latinos do you have in your C-suite? How many Black folks do you have in upper management? People are asking the question before deciding whether or not they want to do business with them. So the shift is that people are more aware and know that it's important and it's not okay if organizations aren't more diverse. So therefore, that's putting pressure on the hiring manager and the managers and decision makers to make sure they're able to identify that top talent. So they're looking for top talent of color. So that's the shift. People are asking the question, oh, how much money are you spending with businesses owned by Latinos? How much money are you spending with businesses owned by Black folks, women, veterans, right? LGBTQ. The questions are coming. People are paying attention. So that's the shift. And so that's the opportunity for us. And so people are more open. And the fact that, and we'll show the platform later, but the fact that recruiters are willing to be open and available and accountable on my platform to speak to us is a shift in all. Usually you just put your resume in, it's going to a black hole, and you hope that
I know about that, those black holes. Hey, so Sharon, I have, so just quickly, we have multiple friends here on the call. So Monica Romero, Ramesh Mani, Patricia Monge, Nikiesha, Star De Vera, Mary Prevost, Lori Sierralta, Liz Pengrel, Christy Lazenberry.
yes, I see.
A lot of friends in here. And I have Ramesh is actually wanting to ask a question. Ramesh, if you want to come up here on screen and ask it to either Sharon or myself, go ahead and, our operators here can work with you to bring you up on screen. Just say on the chat if you want to come up here, and we'll bring you. All right. So just a quick question then that I have for you. Sharon, so you were talking about negotiation, right? And I think that negotiating and first is congratulations to your daughter. I'm very proud that your daughter is already as young and having those conversations that are so important, because that base that you start with can set you right for a good part of it. If you start low, then it's going to take longer to move up.
Yeah.
But I think that can be intimidating for some people. I think that the research says that white folks Caucasians are more familiar with the concept of negotiating. They come strong, they're more confident. They probably have other members in their family that have already shared, those thoughts with them. And so they go in with a much stronger floor, or, negotiation skills or bargaining power. So for someone that has never negotiated, for someone that either in looking for a job has not negotiated, the salary, or someone that is employed and has never negotiated the salary. Quick thought here as Ramesh get ready for his question on how can I introduce this concept of negotiating for the first time, Sharon, if I've never done it, like someone that's never negotiated in their life.
Yeah, so what we have to do is make sure that we have our own personal board of directors, our own personal set of friends. So just like I talk to the CEOs and CHROs about diversifying their friend group, we need to make sure that we have people in our friend group, right, that can add value to us, where we can ask those questions. What should I be asking for? How should I think about it? And then we rehearse doing it. So it's called practice. And so I used to work for a man named Prince, and he was a genius, and he practiced every single day. And so, and I'm like, why do you do that? He's like, because that's how I stay good. I rehearse, right? So we have to make sure that we seek out those allies and those friends, whether it's you, Louise, me, or Ramesh, who is already doing it, and say how. We cannot be afraid to ask for help. We suffer in silence as people of color, and we have to stop it. So we have to find and seek out that information and those allies where we can ask the question. I am nervous, I'm scared to death, and I got this awesome interview, but I need to nail it. I don't know how much to ask for. I don't know how to negotiate. If they ask, what do I do? We have to be vulnerable and ask the question. I recommend that everybody on this call have a personal board of directors of 2 or 3 people that they can go to and just ask for help, because we all need it. Hey, Ramesh, what's your question?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I already go to Lewis. He's my board of directors. So
there you go.
But no, my question was like, is the, depending on the type of job, like I'm from India, and people look at Indian, people as very good in certain things, but maybe not in some other things. So, I mean, I don't know, in the line of work that I'm pursuing, which is like, say, marketing or strategy or things like that. And what kind of changes are you seeing? I mean, or what things do you think I should be ready for?
Yeah, so marketing is a big deal. It is so important because everybody's doing, because of social media, text messaging, email marketing, right messaging on the websites, right messaging on the phone, what's happening in the speeches. Marketing is huge. What does our product look like? How are we speaking about our product? It's just a huge opportunity. Nobody can afford to make any blunders like what just happened, for example, with Urban Outfitters. So we need people in marketing that are culturally relevant, that understand what questions to ask, even if they don't know the answer, so that that can save a company millions. Do you know that if Urban Outfitters just had Ramesh in the room when they decide to make a decision to take a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and put the names of historically Black colleges and universities on their shirts without a real strategy of how it was going to impact the community? That's crazy. Even if you didn't know what to do, you have to know to ask the question. We can't just put Howard University on a sweatshirt, sell it, and don't make sure that Howard University benefits. Oh, we're going to give 5% of all the sales. Really? Okay, so it is a big opportunity, and there's so many marketing positions opening right now from the digital level to the analytical level. People need to know numbers, behavior. What are people clicking? It's so many opportunities, Ramesh. They're desperate for marketing experts who have a cultural pulse, understanding what questions to ask.
Yeah. And I have a tip for you, Ramesh, is that the tip number 1 is you have to get on this platform. So why don't we go ahead and show the platform? So thank you, Ramesh. Always a pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
let's go ahead and show the platform so that Ramesh, I think tonight, Ramesh is going to be the first person to go on and sign up.
So thank you so much. I just want to show you a little bit about the platform. So I built it. So, go figure, Black girl in technology. I mean, this is it. We built it from the ground up, and it's all about making sure that professionals of color have a way to connect directly with recruiters who are working for employers who are serious about increasing racial inclusivity at all levels of the organization. The brand promise when you're on this platform is that the employers and the recruiters will get back to you, and they will be proactively looking for you. This is very different than Indeed, LinkedIn, Monster, and all these other platforms. So that's the homepage. So let me show you. You want to go onto the homepage at peopleofcolorcareers.com, and you want to click your login. So you want to log in, click the login or sign up in this case. And so you want to sign up. It's pretty easy. You can sign up using Google or your LinkedIn account, or you can use your email and password, but most people do Google or LinkedIn. All right, and it's free. It's free forever. So you go in and you create, and this is to create account, and then you come to the profile page. So this is Stephanie Ortiz's profile. Isn't it beautiful? So this is where Stephanie is on the platform looking good and smelling good. So when recruiters come looking for her, they can find out a little bit about who she is, not just what she does. Because a lot of this positioning, you guys, is not about just who you know, but who knows you. And sometimes if you don't meet the person, you got to make sure you have some, external information that will help the person or the recruiter get to know you. So she's got her elevator pitch, she's got a few icebreakers, and so it's just she's got some experience. So it takes only a couple minutes to create your profile, upload your resume. And this is a little small, you guys, but maybe some people, I got bad eyes, I can't. So maybe we can make it a little bit bigger. But the main thing on your profile is to just get on there, answer a couple questions, but upload your resume so that you will be searchable to the recruiters. This is an example of a rockstar profile. You don't have to fill out all of this to be searchable. This is my recommendation though for us. So eventually I want to make sure everybody has a rock star profile. Look at the cover image, and a nice profile image. So when we're looking good and we're smelling good, right? That's making a good impression on the employers.
Absolutely.
So you can search for, these are all the careers. So when you land, and this is sort of our Netflix sort of search engine. So you can search for careers here. You can see a list of employers that are on the platform, and you can search for recruiters. So if you know a recruiter at US Bank or Midco or Anderson or Thrivent, search for them. Here they are, right? They're right there in the living color, and they will talk to you, and, and you can search for their careers. So let's take a look at Anderson, for example. So this is Anderson Windows and Doors. This is a little bit about their company. Now you hit the careers button on here. You can search their careers, but here's the cat's meow. Look at where it says our people. These are all the recruiters on the platform. Just hit Danielle's profile, for example. Just pick up. Danielle says, hey, I work for Anderson. I'm recruiting for CDL drivers, warehouse associates, logistics professionals. She's saying that, wait a minute. She says, you can reach out to me directly for insight into the company culture, for specific questions about one of our posted roles, just to introduce yourself, for a resume review, or just a follow-up, or just to tap into my network. So she's telling you how you can reach her, how you can reach out. You just send her a message, hit the send button.
I love that because I know, many of my friends, the experience that they have shared with me, Sharon, is that in the process of applying, for a job, it's like, they'll submit an application and never hear anything. What a cool thing that here you have access to the recruiter you're working with and have that direct communication.
Well, this is the recruiter. Remember, you guys, the recruiter needs us. The recruiter's job is to recruit and make sure that their hiring managers are having a diverse candidate pool. So they're really looking forward to connecting with us. And so let's say you see a job or a career that you're interested in. Guess what? These recruiters are keeping track of that information. So let's just take a look, for example, at the back end of so that we can keep things private. But let's just take a look at the back end of an application section. So you could take a look at, you can see right here, Geneva, this is not real because we're hiding the names, but this platform looks like this, okay? So Geneva applied for a marketing manager, Stephanie and Danielle. So if you can see this, you can see the communication. So this is what it would look like. So just like what we're used to, Teams or Slack or anything like that. Stephanie and Nehemiah had this conversation, and then we assign direct. You can see here that a recruiter can be assigned to a specific job. It's just very robust back here, and that the recruiters have to keep track of those job inquiries as well, so they know who's contacted them, who's not contacted them, etc. So it's pretty robust, and so obviously, when you get on this platform, you'll be able to know more. But here's how they find you. This is why you need to look good. So from the employer's point of view, they're searching for you. This is where they spend all their time. They look at the industry and they're searching for you, and your resume is right there. So Ramesh, you would be right here with your resume. So if you go down and look at the industry, so they can search by industry. And that's why it's important for you to fill out that information on your profile, because this matches the search function. So you want to make sure your industry and your skills are looking good as well. So we must make sure your industries and skills are looking good. So you drop down, and so Ramesh was looking at marketing, and so we would have marketing and food, whatever it is. This is how they're searching for you on the platform. And again, the unique thing about the platform that I've built for us is that the recruiters know that in order to remain on the platform, they must search for us. That's the brand promise. They're paying for the privilege to be on the platform, to make it free for all of us to find you. That's why I'm encouraging everyone to be on the platform.
Point, Sharon, that if they're paying to be on the platform, obviously it wouldn't make sense for them not to, hire they have to absolutely take advantage of that investment and make sure that they look at the people that are signing up. So for anyone that is right now, I look at that and I want to, go ahead and sign up myself. So for anyone that is on the call tonight, if this is free, if
it's free forever. It's free forever. We'll never charge you to be able to reach out to a recruiter directly or do anything on the platform. This is really about a mission for us to close that income and equity gap and make sure that we are elevating our opportunity to sort of move up in the line, because we've been in the back of the line so far. So for so long, that's why I built it. It's for us. So please tell your friends, get on the platform, search for, we have thousands of careers.
Absolutely. And I think Christy, our friend here, Christina has a question for us. So maybe our operators here can help us to bring Christy up. So Christy, touch up so you can come up here and ask us your question.
Get your lipstick, girl.
So I guess my question was, can you talk a little bit about, and I think I've actually talked a little bit about with you this before, if people go through people of color careers and find a position in a company, and then in their position maybe there's some middle management people who are not with it yet, and start to confront and be confronted with some racist behavior or treatment, is there a way that they could actually go back to you and get any kind of support for figuring out how to deal with this?
So you mean after they land?
After they land a position?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So one of the things that's going to happen on the platform in phase 2, we opened up on January 20th. We're going to have something called a We Don't Want to Lose You portal.
Thank you.
So We Don't Want to Lose You portal gives you an opportunity to communicate with us and our team on the platform to talk about what is happening. So you may like your job, but there's this thing that's sort of, eating at you. And so my job is to go back to our client.
Yes.
And say, yes, we got a little bit of a conflict, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to speak to Christy, for example, about this before we lose her. So we absolutely have a safety net in place, not for people who are, in trouble, because of performance, but because of systemic racism, microaggressions, biases, and, and that I'm not comfortable. They need a safe space to be able to communicate that information back to us. And so yeah,
Right.
there will be a we don't want to lose you for it.
Which is wonderful, because when you think about it, people get hired, but it's that inclusive part
Oh,
that
absolutely.
ends up being so hard.
And the reason, and so the commitment that the employers make to me before getting on the platform are those things, that you want to increase racial inclusivity.
Yes.
And to make sure that this region keeps its competitive edge by making sure that we don't lose our professionals to competitive markets. That's the brand promise. This isn't transactional. You can't
Yes.
come to my platform and post a job and go away. This is
Yes.
about a mission to make sure that we are going to work together to make real change. I really appreciate that question, Christy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you. Mwah.
Good to see you. And one, it's interesting. We'll see here. So Sharon, and you mentioned, performance, but one of the fascinating things, and they're, kind of studies that they're doing now, is that even the way, how included or welcome a person feels in a job can actually affect their performance, right? So even when there are some performance dynamics could actually be the effect of, someone that is working under, a manager that doesn't get it, like, Christy was saying earlier. So it's interesting how these work, can, and I think it's all about alignment, right? What I like about the work that you're doing is the communication at all levels, so that we get the diversity and inclusion piece that is not one, there's no a silver bullet that is going to solve things, but it's rather the entire, alignment on the understanding that we really need the talent of people of color, and how, like you said, we don't want to lose you, is how do we all, are in sync to really protect that talent.
We have to protect our talent. That's our treasure in this. We have to protect our talent. That's our competitive edge.
The one thing, sorry to interrupt, the final I was going to say there is that it's interesting that, some people that I know, people of color that have been very successful in an organization, and yet they had failed in an organization before. Well, that happens to everyone, it can happen to anyone, but it's just fascinating then why with somebody, even someone that can get all the way up to very senior levels of, executive levels, and even up to CEO. I mean, there have been CEOs that they didn't make it somewhere else, right? So it just kind of speaks to how some organizations, there's something about the structure and the team, and that they don't allow for someone that has the talent and the potential to go all the way up to really move any way up, right? So I love the concept that you have about really making sure that that support is there, and that communication and that monitoring, so that our people of color can really advance through the organizations. And I think we have Miguel here. He's going to join us.
So one of the things while Miguel is getting in the panel, we want to remind everybody that we need to choose wisely. Mm-hmm. Think about, dating. You would just go marry anybody. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to just go to work for anybody. What does that CEO stand for? What does that company stand for? Those values align with mine in the least bit. Mm-hmm. And even if they don't, some of us may be in a position where we're looking for a while. And so we want to get a job, we want to land somewhere, and I get that. But just know that we don't stay there. We're looking for the company who gets us. Yes. One of the things that my mom told me, she said, just make sure he loves you just a little bit more, just a little bit. And that's the same thing with your employer. Make sure they love you just a tad bit more than you love them, because we need to get this thing balanced out. Okay, Miguel, are you there?
So Sharon, just quickly here while Miguel gets on, that I love what you're saying. It's something very interesting in that, looking for a job is hard. There's a lot of work that we have to do, a lot of time. And so I'm thinking, if you're already working that hard to find a job and putting all that time, why not just kind of put the extra effort to try to land in a place where you have a higher chance? So for example, I know that there are people who can find a job, even in a company that they don't really know much about, so there is a company that just needs people. They're looking for people, and there's like, hey, yeah, I'll get a job in there. And then once they start as an employee, they start learning about the company. They're like, that company is all right. I like it. I don't like it. But it's after they've already become an employee of the company. I have also known some people, hey, Miguel, well, let me just finish the idea and we'll go to you in a minute. I know people that is the opposite, where there is an organization that they really like. They like their values, what they stand for. They like their leadership, their product, what they're doing out there. And they say, I really would love to work for that company. And even in cases where there isn't even an open job, that they start, and this takes time, but, they start networking and making the connections and all of that, and kind of expressing openly their desire to become an employee of a company. And there are instances where those people actually get a job to become and join. It's not an easy thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm not oversimplifying it or suggesting that this is an easy thing, but in those instances where people can do that, I think your chances to succeed are higher, because then you are in that company that is your dream company, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would comment on that before we get to Miguel. People, think about our own personal buying habits. When the value exceeds the price, somehow we know we don't need that. We know we don't need that extra pair of shoes. It's $200, it's $300. We know but they look good they look good on my feet. Oh, that suit look good on me. We find the money to get it, right? So this is the same thing that happens with employees. So I have gotten people hired where there were job freezes because an employee, a CEO could not pass up the talent. They couldn't afford to. It was too good. So yes, absolutely. When we got the posture and we're flexing and we're building relationships and networking and doing the right thing by creating our personal board of directors, people will hire you. Absolutely. Miguel, you have a question?
Miguel.
Yeah, just one question. First off, I really liked your platform. I think it's great. It's a platform for people of color. I feel more engaged in that to do that than LinkedIn, and feel more welcome, because the type of employers you're attracting, the type of people you're attracting, know you're there because you can add value. And it's just not like, ooh, is it going to go in a different direction? And that why you're there and that why you can add value. So I love the platform. I'm excited to explore it a little bit more. So thank you so much for coming up with it. So I do have a question, and I think this can go for anybody that's a person of color on this phone call. And I've been exploring this a little bit more, right? And I've been thinking about this. It's called the black tax. It could also be known as the Hispanic tax, but it's traditionally known as the black tax. And what that is as a person of color in an organization, because you are black, because you are Hispanic, and typically in these organizations, right? Not just in my organization, you are underrepresented, you're underserved, you're underpaid, you're under-resourced, you're not being recruited, you're not being hired. But guess what? When a recruiting opportunity comes up, who's the token Hispanic, who's the token African American that could actually be placed into that position? And so all of a sudden, we are being tasked as people of color to say, hey, come to this opportunity, come speak, come, and do this. And so what my question really is, as a person of color, when thinking about this, and we are being tasked and asked, we don't want our employer to be like, well, no, Miguel doesn't want to be involved, but I want to be involved because I want to be promoted. I want to have a good promotion. But at the same time, I'm being tasked for something that I'm not being paid for. Yeah. I'm being tasked for something where all of a sudden I'm a value and I'm a resource. And I'm not just talking about my company, just in general. If you could just provide your general thoughts on that, that would be amazing.
Okay, so here's the thing. Many corporations are making a mistake of misusing their talent of color, particularly when they don't have proper resources in place, like a chief diversity officer with a team whose job it is to do that stuff. Okay. And we become, the overnight experts, you're the one that can speak at the, Hispanic Heritage event, and, I can speak at Black History Month. It's a huge mistake that people are making. And what I want everybody on this call to understand is that it is not your responsibility or job to do that. We do want to take advantage of leadership opportunities. And so when you haven't been asked to lead in any other place and any other area, and then all of a sudden it's, you're the shiny, bright, shiny object and you're being asked, you want to challenge that. You want to say, listen, I want to take advantage of every opportunity to shine and lead. But, I, first of all, am not qualified to be the expert in, Latino history or whatever it is you're asking me to do. But I want to make sure that I have the opportunity to do more, the things that I'm qualified to do, that I'm interested in doing. I'm not sure that it's even fair for you to ask me to do this thing.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so we need to ask more questions when that comes up. So
Yeah.
why did you choose me for this?
Yeah.
Why do
And
you would I be the best person for this? You got to challenge them to ask the question. It's a huge mistake that's being made.
I want to build on that. Share first, Miguel. Thank you for the question. I think you bring up a very, very great point that I think it's bad for the company and for the employees. It's a bad dynamic. And I totally agree, Sharon, with your advice. And one thing that I would add to that is maybe, for example, like let's suppose the example that Sharon brought up. I'm Latino, and they are asking me to be the one that speaks at the Hispanic Heritage Month, for example, or to speak about like diversity. It's like I'm not diverse.
Right.
And then, so one thing, I love your suggestion to say, hey, thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking for opportunity. This may not be the opportunity for me. And then have something that you can offer, like resources, like a list of, hey, I know someone, what I will do. This actually happened to me where I told the person, hey, with a smile on my face and everything, hey, get you a list of people that do a great job, in this area and stuff, so that you're still kind of looking like you are helpful and you are engaged and you're not being, so you appreciate the opportunity, but you're in a way actually sincerely helping the company to have whatever that was, the project or event, be of better quality by having the right people. Because the other component to that is that some people of color that are out there with their small and medium-sized companies, and they're spending a lot of time investing and training to be able to provide these services, and they're not being, their services are not being hired because companies are getting someone from, like an employee for free to do something that they really are not qualified to do. So the outcome is not as good as if it's done by those companies who's really, whose expertise is in that. So thank you, Miguel, for the question, and thank you, Sharon, for those great insights.
Absolutely, Miguel. And we shouldn't be working for free. Okay.
Right.
We should not be working for free. That's somebody else's job, and we need to find a way just to finesse that with our language.
Practice. There we go. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the content. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to see you, Miguel.
Bye-bye.
I just want to let everybody know too, Luis, in the pandemic that we have thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of career opportunities in this region right now open and on my platform. And that's not even all the employers. So our region is open for business and still hiring. So that's a message that I want to make sure that we get as well. So that's really important.
Great. And we have Nikisha is going to be joining us here. So as she gets ready, one thing to share that I wanted to bring up is that also looking for a job is a numbers game. I mean, it'd be great to only see one job, apply for it and get it. But and even though some people that does happen for some people, from a statistical standpoint, the probability is very low. The reality is that we have to have really the self-motivation and the energy to try out, look for different opportunities, continue networking, and just try, kind of put it's like fishing, you put multiple lines and stuff because one will pick up. So, I want to leave a message with you all tonight is, I love the idea of making sure that you're applying for companies that you like, that you think, align very well with your values, and they have products and services that you can relate with, and you are in sales, make sure that the best way to sell is to sell a product that you like and you will buy yourself. But then at the same time that you're not necessarily spending all your time only in one company, but making sure that you are kind of trying multiple things. And even on the platform, I think that you can be exploring different.
Oh yeah, many companies.
Many companies. All right. So Nikesha, if you want to turn on your
Yeah.
All right. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
I'm really excited about this. I must say that I can't wait to share it with my friends because it's, again, you don't get responses, or I have friends that just don't even try because they don't think they'll have opportunities. So that's really exciting.
Please share them. Tell them we got them over there. Tell them.
Yeah, my question is, I'm currently transitioning out of being a teacher. And I do know, like, when I've done research, I see that a lot of people of color tend to gravitate towards fields that give back, because we tend to want to give back to our communities and lift everybody else up. And so in doing that, we end up with low pay because teaching, nonprofits, and usually public organizations don't pay so well. And so I was just wondering, since we were talking about kind of negotiating pay, like I know as a teacher, I can't negotiate my pay, it's a schedule.
Right.
And so are you aware of any of the employers that you guys have talked to that are interested in helping people transition into other careers? Like, are they looking
transferable?
I guess, are they will? Yeah, like transferable skills. There you go.
So, well, everybody is. They're trying to find.
Oh, beautiful.
So state of Minnesota, like everybody on our platform. So it really is about how you're presenting that profile and how you're putting that resume together. And how you're networking on the platform. So, I mean, we have somebody who is a math genius, for example. And so he's also a teacher and trying to do, so how can I transfer into banking or finance? How can I transfer into maybe the real estate industry, title company, or the closing, right? So we're working on that. So you're on the platform, you can reach out and get answers to these questions and start to build those relationships and tweak, and then make it happen. So everybody's looking for you.
Absolutely.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good luck. And you know, don't give up, and tell your friends not to give up. We gotta be on this fight and put all the energy and all the motivation so that
and you're not by yourself. It's a network. That's why we call it a social hiring network. So get on the platform, everybody.
Well, you know, Sharon, like they say, when you're having fun, you know, time flies.
Look at that.
So we got to the top of the hour, but I want to once again thank you so much for being such a great friend, for how your solidarity with me and all the people of color out there, where you're always checking in, seeing how people are doing, and really genuinely interested in helping folks to do better and have better opportunities. And like I said at the beginning, although the blah blah is really good, I love it that you follow with the action. And tonight, we just saw two examples, your book, Colorful, that I hope folks on the call check it out, and then also the platform of People of Color platform, and I am going to check it out myself, obviously. So I want to thank you for those specific action. Thank your team for all of the work that you have put together to help and support our communities. And I want to, please, close us up with some of your wise words. And thank you, Sharon. It is really a pleasure and a blessing to be your friend.
No, the pleasure and the blessing belongs to me, Luis. I love you and adore you. You are genuinely interested in other people. We get along, we work together. We know we have to fight the good fight together, and we're going to have to do a better job at all of us have to do a better job at working together and asking for help. And so I just want to thank you for inviting me on this platform. I want you to continue to do the work that you do. We need your voice. We need you out there slinging and fighting. We can't give up. And I want to thank everybody who, tuned in to hear us have this conversation tonight. Thank you so much. Please know that 21 is our year. This is our time. And I know you're tired. I know you're tired, but I got to ask you to get up and keep fighting. I got to ask you to get on up and find 2 or 3 people in your personal network, right, that can help you get through the storm. We can do this, but we have to do it together. And we cannot be afraid to ask for help and support. And you can start by just hanging with me, hanging with Luis, getting on the platform, connecting on LinkedIn, and we can get this thing done. You are not alone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. Just quickly, some of it, where can people find you, Sharon? So on the platforms, can you share the platforms that you're on, some of your accounts?
Sure. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, of course, Sharon Smith Akinsanya. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Boldly Sharon. And of course, I'm on Facebook at Sharon Smith Akinsanya.
Wonderful. Thank
so
you.
LinkedIn and Boldly Sharon on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you.
And
so
same
much.
for me. So Luis Moreno on LinkedIn and on Twitter and Instagram. Also, what else? Telegram, Clubhouse, but Luis VPN. Okay. So thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Looking forward to speaking with you again soon. And congratulations on your book and on this great platform. It's always a pleasure to see you.
The pleasure is all mine.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us tonight.